package in the mail, MSX games from Japan. Collecting without fail those shoot 'em ups, and that's the plan. He doesn't just collect them, he also codes them too. Join us and we'll go on electric adventures with you.
Hey YouTubers, Electric Adventures here with my monthly update for August 2020, where I natter on about all sorts of random stuff. Other pickups that I haven't directly made a video of. These are pretty random. Going at the modern crowd, I bought a selfie stick, but more importantly, it actually has a stand on the bottom, because I have and I suppose that's another pickup as well. I have an iPhone 11 Pro, so it has the better camera, and I have actually tried recording screens of things with that, and it actually doesn't do a too bad job. Last month I got Vector Patrol for the Vectrex, and it worked quite well. So this is as high as it goes, by the way, but it has the phone holder on top, and most importantly, for my my Omega MSX2 build, I'm going to try using my iPhone camera and see if we get a little bit better contrast and less fuzziness, and that the focus stays in. And it will generally be useful. I haven't had a bit of a play, but I might be able to record some arcade gameplay with these. Whereas my other camera, just you get the black line flicker fest the entire time. So only just got that a couple of days ago. Now, other pickup is not really gaming related at all, but it is retro. I actually collect, well, I've always been a fan of Tintin. From way back in, first discovered Tintin when I was at high school. The school had some Tintin, pretty much a set of Tintin books. They also had Obelix and Asterix. Not that I have any Obelix and Asterix stuff. And I've been doing a bit of a slow collection, because these things are things of getting first edition English copies in hardback of the Tintin books. Now, previously, sorry, I've got a bit of stuff piled up here. Previously, my collection consisted of a non-first edition of the Blue Lotus, a first edition printing of the Black Island. You can tell first editions by their red spine. Doesn't have a label on it. This paperback modern library, ex-library copy of Destination Moon, one of my favourite Tintin stories, and a copy of Flight 714, and this Tintin World of Herg. So my collection wasn't very big, but I got this lot of Tintin books here. So this is fairly modern Cigars of the Pharaoh, a first edition of Red Rackham's Treasure. Let's see there. A first edition of The Seven Crystal Balls. I haven't read all of these again yet, and I'm not sure 100% sure whether I remember actually reading that one at all, ever. And really excited to find a first edition of Explorers on the Moon. So if I can find a first edition of the first one at some stage, that would be fantastic. And another copy of this one. That's third printing. Is that one, not first printing of Flight 714. So, by chance, if anybody watches my channel and they're a Tintin collector and want to do trades, that's up for trade, of course. So, completely non-retro gaming pickups, and that's about it. I did actually go into an EB Games store and had a look through the pre-owned PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games, and I almost bought a couple, and then I went, oh, hang on, I haven't finished the other games that I have, so I left them there. So I've been doing that a lot with modern games because I've just been enjoying playing my older ones, and obviously I have been buying older games because I've done pickups on those. So yeah, modern gaming's just not doing it for me at the moment. I mean, like the Last of Us series is one of my favourite games, and I would really like to play Last of Us 2, but I'll get around to it eventually because I've got other games. As an example, I think I showed like a couple of months ago that Final Fantasy game. I think I got given for my birthday. I still haven't actually played that. So yes, I'm not into buying modern games and not playing them. So we'll get around to that at some stage. Other things that I got working, I installed the high score saver that I showed you in last month's video in my Space Pilot cocktail cabinet. And interesting enough, the hack of the Space Pilot titles is obviously after the actual chain of stuff applied to the screen, because after putting the high score saver in, which means you can remove the original ROMs, you still could see Space Pilot on the title screen, and that works really well. I haven't, that's actually probably only been in for about a week, and I haven't put many scores on it yet, so my scores aren't very high. I might, if I get remember, I'll insert a little bit of video of just a bit of gameplay of Space Pilot, probably using a selfie stick and the camera just as a test for you guys to have a look at while I talk about that. Alright, so next I would like to answer another one of Novabugs' top 4 Friday questions. Only just getting in on time. So it's gaming magazines. Now I'm going to have to do a bit of a video insert trickery here, because I do not have copies of some of my picks, and which makes it a little bit difficult. So we'll go, and for the life of me I can't find the name of one of the other magazines that I used to get, mainly because I could afford it. I didn't have a lot of pocket money back in the day, and you're talking really early 80s for most of these. So we'll start back in time. Probably the first magazines that I saw anywhere were Byte magazine. And this is when I was starting to get interested in programming. And Byte magazine, I wouldn't buy it all the time because it was expensive. I do believe I found some at we had a second-hand bookstore in our neighbourhood, unfortunately long since gone. And you'd be able to pick up magazines there for like 50 cents and things like that. So that's probably one of the very first magazines that I bought at all, were issues of Byte magazine, and they had lots of ads. A very thick magazine, but a lot of it was ads. But that was interesting. I used to like looking at the ads and seeing what computers were around, because obviously I was fascinated with computers at the time. And also they had listings in the back. Now initially I would have had my TI 99.4 computer, listings completely not compatible, but I'd have a go at making them work. And then later on I had my Spectravideo 318, and the same thing, I'd get some of those listings and see if I could try and read them, learn and work out the games for myself. So Byte magazine is my first pick there. So going along, the next one, and one that I bought for a very long time on a regular basis, and it's not strictly a gaming magazine, but it did cover games, and this is a more modern issue of it, because I don't have any of my old ones. Basically when we moved to this house, which is now 22 years ago, we did actually, I actually threw out a lot of magazines because they're very heavy and took up a lot of room, and then another lot were sitting in the middle of our storage shed when we first moved in, and a water main burst in the street, ran down the path directly into this shed down the middle and soaked a whole lot of things, and that included another one of the magazines plus this pick, which is Australian Personal Computer. So Australian Personal Computer, and I actually bought this magazine all the way up to the 2000s, and it mainly covered personal computers and their evolution, and obviously became very PC focused as you move further on into the 80s. But in the early 80s it was all about early computing, and a lot of it was about games on those computers, because that's what people were interested in. So it was a magazine that I bought religiously. It was also, I was interested in electronics, and the Electronics Weekly, or the Electronics Monthly magazine that was also in Australia, actually started as part of this and then split out into a separate magazine. I did buy that as well. I could be mixing things up here because there's also another one called Silicon. I've lost the name of it. Another magazine called Silicon. I've lost the second name, but that's all right. So Australian Personal Computer, and it's one that I did buy consistently. I haven't bought it for a few years now because I really, there's only so much about PCs that interests me nowadays that I can't read electronically, so it was a waste of things. And I have a lot of issues here still, mainly from the early 2000s. Yeah, next, another magazine. I do not have one physical copy that I can put my hands on, but I do know I still have a couple of issues somewhere. My magazines are in various places in storage and in the back corner of this room, which is not easy to get to at the moment. And the next one is, of course, and I'm sure lots of people have picked this one, is computer and video games, because it covered all of the computers that were out at the time, and of course was focused on gaming. That's where I learnt about all of the different UK systems that were coming out and wanted after them. It also had listings in the back, very important thing for me, because I would take some of those listings and see if I could try and convert them to my TI-1994 and then my Spectravideo 318 and try and get them running so I could have games to play. Once again, not much pocket money, probably blew most of my pocket money on buying that magazine. So, I made it last. I used to read those again and again and again. I used to love the ads for the different systems. And I bought that for very many years, and I had lots of copies of that in the end. Unfortunately, all gone and destroyed to landfill, sad to say. Now, moving on a little bit later, so our last pick, and this is a little hard, there's going to be a couple of things, and this is an official magazine, and I do have a few issues of it, and it's MSX Computing. Because by the time I got to the MSX era, I was so nice to have a magazine dedicated to, the computer that I had made my chosen one. And it wasn't a bad magazine, and it had things like, just random pages here, maps of adventure games, reviews. It was mainly black and white inside, and that, and I bought it from my local newsagents as well, so it was available on the shelf. So now there are some others, so they're the four that I've picked. In later years I also managed to get a few issues of this magazine, which is a Japanese MSX magazine around the MSX2 and 2 Plus era, and it's very much like a bike magazine but a Japanese version. It has wonderful things in there, lots and lots of content, and there were listings in this one as well. No, it's a directory, including machine code, stuff like that. I used to once again spend the time typing those in. It was also MSX Computer Forum magazine as well, and that later led me to running and writing my own magazine, Micro Gazette, for I think it went for about 3 years after Computer Forum. So Computer Forum I basically took over right at the end of its life, published the last issue of that, and then relaunched it as Micro's Gazette every 2 months, and it only went for about 2 years, and got a little bit more spread out as it went, because it was basically just keeping my love of the computer going and the members, but the membership slowly dropped off over time and it became more difficult, and then it continued on with somebody else in a little mini magazine form. for a little time after that. So they're my picks. What were the gaming magazines that you grew up with back in the day? Be interested to hear the ones that you were interested in as well. So thank you, Novabug, for that question. To close off, a couple of little things. So my book, Programming Games for the ColecoVision and Adam. The Kindle version is now live on Amazon. So I'll put a front cover screenshot up there. The print edition I'm just setting up will be printed by Coty Gamers in Europe, mainly because they're in the centre, their postage rates are really good, and they can do a spiral bound version. Since it's a reference and programming guide, there's lots of listings in there. Spiral bound is very important for you to be able to open up and keep it at the page that you're looking at. And plus, it's giving them a bit of support in these interesting times. And postage from there to the rest of the world is actually pretty good. Whereas if I got it printed in Australia, the postage would be dreadful, going out anywhere. I could get it printed by Amazon, but I couldn't get it spiral bound. I do have 6 centres, but none of them are in Australia anyway, so it wouldn't help me down here. It'll help you guys in the rest of the world. And they didn't do a too bad job with my last book, I will say. But because this one's got so many listings in it, and several people on as I've been posting about the book and getting the printed copy, have rightly pointed out that if I could get it spiral bound, it would just make it that little bit more useful. So the people from Coty Games approached me and said that they do printing. They do quite a bit of printing, and they can handle the distribution. So we'll be making it available to do a pre-order on their website. I'll have a link on my website to their website, so you can order your copy. I haven't set the price yet. I'll set that in the next couple of days, but it's only going to be $10 US postage anywhere in the world, and I think that's pretty good for a book. It's about 250 pages long, or 260 pages, and spiral on things, so that's not bad for that book. Very excited to have finally finished my next book, and there's been a lot of interest, and I thank everybody out there for their interest. So it'll spur me on to make more. So I do intend on making an MSX version of that book as well. That'll take a little bit more time, and there will be an advanced programming book later on as well. So I've got more coming. Also, another little snippet. I did say Cabin Fighter had passed beta testing, but we had some more late testing, and we found another couple of bugs. And then, as you do when you touch something, and I was also working on the music and sound effects section of the book I was just talking about, and I went, I'm not really happy with the sound effects, so I rewrote the sound effects in Cabin Fighter, and I added a little intro music tune, just like Scramble in the arcade. So I'll show a little snippet of that there. And of course, as you do, I introduced a couple of bugs. So I actually, after this video, I'll probably be going and trying to fix that. It just has a little issue starting up for the first time on real hardware. It works fine on the emulator. So I've probably done something silly there. I will figure that out, and then we can get that off for pre-order. I don't know whether I showed the draft box art, but I'll put that up there as well. That's a really, really nice job done by the person, and looking forward to the final version of that. So I only really got to do a manual, and we can pop that up for pre-order as well. Nice to get that game out of the way. I've done a little bit more work on Berserk, but yeah, a few things been happening. I'm now a grandfather, so just this week my eldest daughter had a baby, so you now call me Pop. Yes, and we've been very busy doing that, so that's sort of, as they do, family things are way more important than mucking around with retro stuff. Alright, well, I hope everybody out there is keeping safe and well. Still very interesting times we live in, and just hope everybody is well and enjoying their retro games out there. Alright, I'm Electric Adventures. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.